Alicia, I wanted to just walk you through my craft corner. This is my little corner of our apartment that is dedicated to just creativity, crafting. I also have a computer here, so I also do like just all of my personal like computer stuff here too. It's a very small space. I'm working with it as best I can. Before I get into it, what's not included in this is all of my yarn. That's a big one. I have a big bin with all of my yarn in it, so I'll take like some footage of it here and like add it. I basically just have a bin with all my yarn. I recently decluttered all of my yarn, so this is me downsizing the yarn. Along those same lines, I have a couple knitting and crocheting projects just scattered around the apartment because I like to knit and crochet like while I'm relaxing, maybe watching TV or listening to an audiobook like in bed or on the couch. Another thing that is not in this craft corner is my Cricut and Cricut supplies. I don't use my Cricut very often, to be honest. It was mostly something I used for our wedding and printing like invitations and like stationery and like table settings and stuff like that. I really just use it to make stickers for some of the clubs I'm in, or maybe like labels if I make like a candle or something, but don't really use my Cricut very often. So I keep that upstairs by my work computer because that's where the printer is. Just makes sense for the Cricut to live by the printer. So that's all the craft supplies that's not in the craft corner. So I'm going to actually pull myself out of this chair and give you like an overview of it, and then we'll just do a little craft corner tour. And I thought this would be a fun little video for YouTube because I like seeing how people organize their craft supplies, and I have a lot of it and it's definitely not organized very well. So I would love some ideas if you have any ideas. I'm trying not to buy anything. I don't want to buy any more storage organizers, so if anything, I just need to use some of this craft supplies. So without further ado, we'll give an overview. Okay, so this is my craft corner. So this is our kitchen. We've got like our sink there, living room's over here. We got a little coffee cart here. So it's kind of in this corner of what's supposed to be our dining area. So I'm kind of like pushed back into this dining area, which I think this is supposed to just be kind of part of the kitchen. It's kind of one of those older like kitchen desks, and I have really taken it over. So it does get a bit cramped here. Sometimes I move this table over, but we're also kind of cramped with the Roomba. So it's apartment living. It's a bit cramped. So anyways, up here is all pantry stuff. So my craft corner is like dead under like our kitchen pantry, which is fine. It's just sometimes gets a little chaotic, but this is kind of an overview. So actually, let me pull this chair out because there's some stuff on the floor over there too. So we'll just go with what we can see first. So we'll start up here. I got these little wall organizers from Amazon, and they were really easy to install. So I've got just some like basic stuff that I just want to be able to grab really quickly. So I've got some colored pencils here. I've got all of my like crocheting hooks here. This is something my friend sent me as a Christmas gift, and I thought it was just like a nice little thing to put here. It's a little avocado toast. This is just a fun little watercolor card I got while we were in London, and then I have just a sketchbook right here. And then down here I've got pens, Sharpies, that kind of stuff. I've got like a little notepad, some sticky notes, and then I made these are meant to be like little gift tags. There's little watercolor bits that I can just put a hole punch in and like make a quick little gift tag on a whim. So those live there. I've got this letter from a friend, a gift card, just kind of like random stuff. I've got this thing that my friend made me. We were roomies, so I just keep that there. Then it gets a little chaotic. So I've got this cutting mat. I paint on this thing, I cut on this thing, I craft on this thing. To me, it's not meant to be pretty, but I do try and clean it up when I can. But there are some scratches in there that are just gonna be there, and it is what it is. And then this is a very heavy steel block that I actually just got to hammer some jewelry. So we'll get to that in a minute, but I leave that up here just because it's really heavy. In this corner, I have a little bit of chaos. So this is my Hobonichi Weeks that I am honestly not really using. I expected to use it more than I actually do, but I still have it here in case I change my mind and want to use it. I have this letter that I was supposed to send to my friend, and I totally forgot to send it, so I need to get that addressed and mailed. I have two of these Hooks and Needles books. I have signed up for Hooks and Needles in the past. I actually really like them. I get really behind on projects, so I've got two kind of backlogged. So this one, I'm going to make this little pillowcase cover, and then this one, I don't even know. I haven't actually even looked through this one, so TBD on what project I'm going to do from this one, but I have it paused for right now just because I've got 2 backlogged, but I keep those in here just so they're kind of all in the same place. I've got this watercolor kind of coloring book. I have really not used it very often, if I'm honest. This is one of my favorite books. This is made by a creator on YouTube. Her name is Sarah Reeves. I believe her YouTube channel name is like Red Rocking Bird, maybe? I don't remember her handle, but she makes amazing air dry clay tutorials. I love her so much. She is such a wonderful creator to follow, and she made this whole book about air dry clay, and I love it so much. It's such a beautiful book. Really love this book. So that lives back here as well. I've got a watercolor sketchbook, another watercolor coloring book, and like a crochet book. So kind of all of the book things live here. And then I've got these drawers. These labels are not accurate anymore. But I've got a pencil sharpener here. Contrary to what the label says, this is not wax melts. This is actually gouache paint. So keep all of that tucked in here. And then I've got some black ink back there as well. This label is correct. This is all of my hand sewing stuff. This drawer, I just have microns, mostly colored microns, and then like a Sharpie pen in there. In this bottom drawer, I've got some oil pastels. So, you know, got all my oil pastels there. And then I have some charcoal. If I can pull it up without getting it on my finger, got some little charcoal sticks as well. So that's that stack of rows. This is just a drawer of rubber gloves to keep my hands clean, and then some sandpaper that my dad gave me if I ever need to sand anything down. Oh, on top of this drawer, I also have, this is our old hatch alarm. We've got one upstairs. This one was kind of being a bit buggy. It would kind of go off at random times, so it was kind of not working reliably for an alarm. So I moved it down here, and if you tap it, I can just like kind of have like some fun lights and sounds and stuff. So I just kind of moved it down here. I don't really use it very often. This next drawer is just tapes, glues, stickies, that kind of stuff. And then this drawer is basically my junk drawer down here. I've got a handful of jewelry making tools. Basically all my jewelry making tools are down here. These are like, I forget what these are called like officially, but they're like row markers. Like row markers for when you're knitting or crocheting. And then I've got a couple keychains from our trip to London that I want to make into ornaments. So I've got this one here and this one here. I mean, obviously you could just hang keychains on a tree and it's an ornament, but I would like to make them into nicer ornaments, so they kind of just go in the junk drawer. So that's that little corner. Here I've just got some tape, got a lamp. This is just my personal computer. If I'm ever like playing a video game that's on my PC, I'll usually play it here. So if I'm like playing The Sims, any games that I play like co-op with my husband, I'll play down here and he'll play upstairs. I went back and forth on whether I wanted to keep this in my craft corner, but I do look at like inspiration online. I'll watch like tutorials and follow them. So I do think it makes sense to have my computer down here, especially because it used to be upstairs with my work computer. And I was constantly going back and forth between my work and personal computer. So I decided to totally separate it. So anything that's like not work related, I do here. So if I'm like I said, if I'm playing games, following a tutorial and like learning how to make like a, I don't know, like some earrings or something, anything personal stuff is down here. And then this, usually I use this as a, like a watercolor, just like for my watercolor. It's technically a brewing company, but this was actually my favorite place to get breakfast in Durango, Colorado. I believe they've since closed, and actually this mug broke. I don't know if you can see the crack there on the handle. My husband actually dropped this, so I can't really use it as like a coffee mug anymore because the glue is not super secure and I'm afraid to like drop it again. So I use this just like for watercolor, but right now it's actually got some seashells in it that I want to make something out of, and I didn't know where to put the seashells, so he just kind of lives right there. And then lastly, I just have a candle warmer because it's nice. It adds like a nice light source when I'm over here too, and also it smells nice. All right, so that's like the whole top part of the craft corner. So now we're gonna go move these curtains, and this is where most of the storage is. This is where most of the chaos is. It's a little chaotic down there, so let's go. All right, so you can kind of see how crazy it is. So we're gonna move from left to right. So the left down here is probably the most disorganized part of this. So first right here, I have my sewing machine. I just bought this, I wanna say 6 months ago. It's a Brother. I just have it under this desk cover right now. I would love for it to have some space in here, but I truly don't know where to put it. It's so big and it's so heavy. So right now it's just sitting here on the floor. I hate it. I don't know what to do with it at this point, so it's just where it's gonna stay right now. This is where it's a little chaotic. So here, I've got an ironing board here. I don't think I even have an iron down here though, so I don't really know why that's here. This is a projector for if I want to trace something, like if I'm painting something for Christmas. I made some of my friends like painted plates, and I wanted the font to be really precise, so I used this and like projected it onto the plates before I painted it. The top here, I've got these two, like, I was gonna say paint by numbers. I think when we bought these, we thought these were paint by numbers, but there's like no numbers on them. So they're just little paint projects that my husband and I picked out, and then we never ended up painting. So I'm just kind of holding on to them down here for now. This is one of 2 bags that I use for this club that I co-run. So my friend and I co-run this social group in the area. We do volunteering events. We do like happy hour, like meetups. And we also do a lot of crafting events, and I typically kind of organize and plan the crafting events and supply the supplies. So I just have some stuff in these bags for these events. This is a holiday themed like picnic table cover because we do a lot of events outside to keep it free. I've got some Valentine's Day stencils and then some letter stencils because we do a lot of card making events. I've got some extra like art supplies in here that's like maybe not the best quality, but it's good enough quality for like these craft events. So I've got some old paintbrushes that probably need to be washed because they don't get washed at the events. Some acrylic marker pens as well. I've got some, I'm not going to pull all this out. I've got some acrylic paint in here. And then these I ordered to make a couple people little tree stump ornaments for Christmas last year, and I have a ton extra. So I'm just kind of hoarding them in here right now, knowing that we're going to do that this Christmas or this holiday season for an event. So like I said, this is bag 1 of 2 of just kind of like general art supplies and like, you know, event hosting stuff for this club. So this is the first bag. This is the second bag. I just keep them in these tote bags so it's easy for us to kind of get going. So in this bag, I've got a ton of scissors. Oh my goodness, so many scissors. Because we do a lot of like collaging events as well. So I've had to buy, you know, enough scissors so that everybody has scissors. So I have probably 10 to 15 pairs in here. And then my friend who I co-run it with, she's also got a stash of scissors as well. And then we've got a lot of this, you know, adhesive, these like adhesive, you know, invisible tape things. Because I said again, we do a lot of like collaging events. We'll do like vision board stuff and like cut up magazines. I've got a stash of magazines somewhere. So yeah, just kind of keep all that kind of in these bags. This box right here is clothes that I don't currently wear, whether it's that they don't fit me or I don't like the style. But I didn't want to donate because I think I could use the fabric in some sort of sewn craft, or it's something that I need to fix, I need to repair, or I have like a vision for it. So I've just got like some long pants in here. I've got a couple dresses in here. This is this old sweatshirt. And then I have this towel on here too because it's a really nice towel. And I would love to make, I've seen people make like shorts and like swimming cover-ups out of towels, so I just have this here as well for that reason. And then all the way in the back here, this is in the back because to me this is a winter craft, so once we get closer to the holiday season I'll pull this forward. But I've got some embroidery, thread, string. To me it's more like string than thread. It's pretty thick. Got this organized by color. And then I've got this box, which I've got some more, these are more like embroidery scraps. And then a bunch of felt back here. I've got a ton of felt sheets back here. It's for making felt ornaments. I've got some seed beads in there as well. So this is something that we did again for that club last year. But I want to make a lot of more felt ornaments for Christmas this year. So, I've got all that supplies back there, but again, to me, this is kind of like a winter craft because it's more for like felt ornaments. So I've just got that back there for the time being. All right, so now we've got this first stack of drawers here right next to my computer. So, at the top of the drawers, I just have some extra canvases. I really don't do acrylic painting or oil painting hardly ever, if I'm honest, but I do have some just in case I feel the inspiration to. I'm going to skip this drawer for now because that's candle stuff. We'll get to my watercolor stuff first. So this is my watercolor drawer. Let me pull her out and we'll go through everything. All right, so in my watercolor drawer, I have watercolor supplies. So this is a little just like swatch sheet for one of my palettes. I'll keep like extra cards that I like pre-make in here, although I've been using a lot of my pre-made cards, so I need to like make some more. This is just one of my little travel watercolor sketchbooks. If I'm ever going anywhere, I'll just grab this, throw it in my bag, and you know, I've got a different one in my bag right now. I've got this sunography. I got this at the Tate Modern in London, so I still need to look into how to do this. But I'm very excited to do some of this. This is another just, you know, watercolor sketchbook, another travel one that I'll take with me. She's not as filled, although I do really love this paper. This is a paint palette that I made at a ceramic coffee shop place near me. It's a little wonky, but it was handmade. It's a hand build, so it's going to be a little wonky, but I made these little divots here for my water and then two little kind of wash plates. So I made this myself. I've got just some paper towel on a little clip because I always need paper towels when I'm painting. I've got this little kind of like a, I don't even know, like a color theory wheel thing. So I can't say I actually use this, but you know, it's there if I need it. And then I've got 3 different watercolor palettes. I've got this one that's kind of like, I feel like this is the one you always see on like TikTok shop and stuff. It's honestly got some really nice colors in it. It's good variety. I can't speak for the quality. This one I got at like an actual like art supply store. So there's that one. And then this one is my oldest one. Don't actually love the paint quality on this one, if I'm honest, but it's probably my most used because I've had it the longest. So yeah, those are all my palettes. Then I've just got everything else kind of thrown in here. So I've got more little clusters of paper towels. You can see I've used these. A lot of micron pens. I use this for like outlining my paintings. I've got some of these watercolor pens that have the water already in them. I've got a pencil, I've got erasers, and then just a giant collection of brushes, way more than I need, but I get gifted them all the time because people know I like to paint. So I just kind of keep them in here. So we're going to put this drawer back together and we'll put her back where she belongs. Right, so if you noticed, I have 2 just empty bottles of wine sitting here. So I make candles out of old wine bottles. So what I'll do is I'll take these and somewhere above the label, probably like right here, I will cut the bottle, and then if it's got a flat enough bottom, I can put 1 or 2 wicks in there and make a little candle out of it. I'll show an example. I think I've got one. It's almost burnt out all the way. But this is our favorite wine right now. We get this any chance we get. It's like a semi-sparkling white. So good, but I also think the label on the bottle is really cute and would make a nice little candle. And then this one is from one of our favorite wineries up in northern Arizona that I believe actually closed. So we're pretty bummed about that. I have one other bottle that I've used to make a candle that's upstairs. So I also want to cut this one because this is not only our favorite, one of our favorite wineries, but also one of our favorite wines. So would like to make this into a candle as well. So now that we know that, the rest of these drawers are all candle making supplies, at least on the left here. So this top drawer has all of my candle smellies. I say all of, it's definitely not all of them. I have used quite a few of these actually. So I have just kind of a random collection of these. Some of the bigger ones are in that bottom drawer there, but I've got like an autumn packet. I know I've got like a bunch of fruit ones, like this one's like fig. I think I've got like some blueberry muffin ones. And then some of these bigger ones are ones that I know I like. Magic Mistletoe is a really nice winter one. There's this espresso one's fine. They all get crazy. This thing is always filled with oil. It just, something is always leaking, unfortunately. This cream orange one's really nice. This cashmere one is really lovely if you're looking for a nice, like, sweet, soft smell. Fifth Avenue is also really nice. If you want one that smells like a hotel, like a really bougie one, this Westin Hotels one is really nice. So, got all my smellies there. And then this drawer has all the stuff to cut the wine bottle. So in this drawer, I've got like, these are all the little bits and bots that go with it. There's like a little glass cutter. There are these little bands that you use to put pressure on the wine bottle when you go back and forth between hot and cold water. I can do a tutorial on that at some point. Safety gloves, that kind of stuff. This is the base of the cutter. And then I've also got these little tins for the actual wax. This is a bottle I tried to cut, and it's not always a clean cut, unfortunately. So I'm trying to figure out how to sand this down and make it not so sharp, because this was a gift from our friends that went to Germany, and we would like to be able to use this bottle. And then we've got some wicks and some wick stickers, and then some extra bottles, apparently, that I forgot about. So, like I said, this is our favorite wine, clearly. We've got another bottle of it here. And then this one is actually from Portugal. It was a gift from my friend that went to Portugal. And then this thing you can use to cut the tops of cans off, because I've been experimenting making candles in like beer bottles or like seltzer cans and stuff. So kind of all the like nitty gritty stuff with candle making in here. And then I'm not going to pull it out all the way because the box is kind of in the way, but this last drawer has the last of the candle making stuff for the most part. So this is actually a thing of cement. So when you're making candles out of like a beer can, you have to bring the weight of the can down. Otherwise it's too lightweight. It doesn't have the weight of like a wine bottle. So I add a small layer of cement at the bottom underneath the wick just to give it like a sturdy base. In here, I've also got some bags of wax, and then you can see in the back, I've got some extra, like larger bottles of fragrance oil that I tend to like more. So there's like an orange in there, a lemon in there, a vanilla, just kind of those basic scents. Okay, so moving to the right side underneath the craft corner. This is just obviously my computer tower. I leave a little bit of room in the back just so it can breathe and not overheat, but I actually do worry about this thing overheating. And then I've just got some headphones on there. And then this is everything else. So on top, I have some of this that just doesn't happen to fit in some drawers. Little pin needles, earring hooks, little clasps. I don't really use clasps very much anymore, but a lot of this is really nice to have quickly on hand. This top drawer that just came from right there at the top is mostly air dry clay supplies. I have these giant brushes that my husband and I use, and we did some oil painting at one point. I don't even think we still have the oil paint. We'll find out when we get to the paint drawer. Like I said, I don't really paint a lot, so I've just got these here because they're big and they need the space. But I've got glue and a glue stick, but then a lot of this is just like tools for air dry clay. I've got some of these little pattern rollers to use. I've got little sculpting tools. I think actually these are oil pastel sculpting or oil paint sculpting tools, but I use them for clay at this point. This is actually a tile cutter. Because I was making something at one point where I was cutting tiles into mosaics, but I am not making that anymore. So I actually need to give this back to my dad. So yeah, some clay varnish in there as well. If I'm honest, I didn't really like this clay varnish, and actually I think it dried up completely, so this might be for the trash. This second drawer right here, this is all of my paint, so like mostly acrylic paint and primer, and then this is ceramic paint. I just recently got this set of ceramic paint, which is why I was using acrylic paint originally. So I've got some acrylic primer and then, you know, just a basic set of acrylic paints. But recently I got this ceramic paint. I've only used this blue because I was making those plates for my friends. So in the future, when I get more into air dry clay, I want to see if I can use this ceramic paint with air dry clay, or I just don't know what the water content is going to do because air dry clay can be really fussy. So TBD on that, but I do have a lot of ceramic paint, so I got to figure out something to do with it. I'm going to skip this drawer for now, and we'll get to this just because it's kind of air dry clay related. So this is my tub of Crayola air dry clay. I believe I've also got a bar of DOS in here, but I'm going to be so honest. Every time I try and use DOS clay, it's just too wet, and it's like it's inconsistently wet. Like half of the block will be like soaping wet to the point where it's unusable, and the other half will be dried out. So I don't actually use DOS anymore. I stick with this Crayola stuff. I think it's honestly really great quality, especially for just like a hobbyist like me. I've got some super glue, ceramic glue. These are those tiles that I was talking about that I was breaking. I was making like some mosaic stuff with that. And then I've got some cookie cutters back here that I use to make like holiday ornaments with the air dry clay. I've done that 2 years in a row with that crafting group, like I was saying. And then, let me see, I've got some more of those tiles for like mosaic stuff. These blocks right here are like certain measurements. So if you're like rolling out your air dry clay, you can have like an inch height of block on each side. So you can roll it out to be exactly an inch. And then lastly, I've just got this UV resin light, and then, you know, the actual resin, so that when I do like an air dry clay project, I paint it, I want it to have a glossy finish, I can just use that to give it that glossy finish. So that's all the clay supplies. This drawer is jewelry, and I'm thinking it might make sense to do a whole separate video on that because I want to get into making more like jewelry specific videos. So this is all my jewelry supplies. I think I'm actually going to do a total separate video on this because she's packed and there's a lot of stuff in here. So I might do like a jewelry supply tour because I've got a ton of beads in here. I've got a ton of wires in here. And so I think it might make sense to do that video separately of like all of my jewelry supplies because it's probably the beef of my crafting supplies. So this is all my jewelry stuff. All right, last little section here. So this is just this little bin that my husband got me that I keep all of my like stationery crafts. So I've got all of this washi tape here on top. I've got little pens, pencils, mild liners. I use this thread to make the thing to keep my Hobonichi weeks closed. I've got these little cat post-its here, just kind of random stuff. I've got a ton of planner stickers. I've got like a little summer book. I've got like one of these for each month. So this is June. I've got like a winter book. All of these other months. This is the fall book and the spring book. These are gonna fall over. And then these are like just like chores stickers and stuff. So all of that. And then I had a bunch of London stickers because we just went to London. So I used a lot of these. And then at the bottom, I've just got Tombow markers and some scissors. So really just kind of stationary. Like think like, not necessarily bullet journaling, but like planner kind of stuff. I usually just like zhuzh up my notebook like that I take just like my to-do list and stuff. I don't really do a planner much anymore. But I have like a running notebook that I keep my running to-do lists and that kind of stuff on. So I use this just to zhuzh that up a bit. And then this little cart thing here, I've got this jewelry mat that is so old. It's like cracked in 3 different places and stained, but it still does the job. I have this really big watercolor book. If I'm working on a watercolor project, I'm usually just taking out of here. It's like really good quality paper, at least by my standard. And then here is kind of just a shit show. This thing is kind of just a disaster. So here in the front, I've got these little ribbons that I couldn't figure out where to put, so they go there. This is fiber filling. So if I'm making those felt ornaments, I want to stuff them. This is what I stuff them with. I've got this massive bag of soy wax, which I recently just switched to soy wax. So, and then lastly, in this top bit is all of my sewing machine supplies. So I've got just some scrap fabric just to play around with. I just got a couple kits from Amazon. Really, I would like to, if I'm like working on a sewing project, use either fabrics from the thrift store, like maybe like some sheets or something, or just, you know, work with clothes I already have. I've got a ton of thread, and then somewhere here are the bobbins that go with that thread, some extra fabric. I think this is like something that goes with the machine. I really don't know. A Singer all-purpose sewing something. Sewing oil. I don't know what I'm doing with my sewing machine, so TBD. And then I've got some zippers here that I've actually used on some crochet projects in the past, and then a ton of sewing machine attachments that I don't know what they do. So that's that. That is the entirety of my craft corner. Like I said, it's a little disorganized, it's a little chaotic, but I love it. I love having an entire space dedicated to creativity and a place for me to just get off my phone and just have some time. That's all I've got for today. Let me know if you're interested in seeing like a jewelry deep dive, because like I said, I have a lot of stuff. I actually just recently like restocked my whole jewelry supplies. I got new beads, I got new wires, I got like a new hammer. So I'm really excited to start making some jewelry and some fun earrings. I've got a lot of cool ideas saved. So let me know if that's something you're interested in. At some point, I really want to make like jewelry tutorials. I want to make a tutorial on how I make my candles out of like repurposed wine bottles or beer cans, stuff like that. So more crafting content to come. I really want to lean into the crafting vibe for the end of this year, especially because the second half of the year is definitely when I get the most crafty. It gets colder. I'm thinking of like holiday gifts and stuff like that. So more crafting content coming soon. But until then, bye for now.